This is the Purple Passion Project with host and clinical sexologist, Dr. Stacy Friedman. This is your go-to podcast for raw, real, and irresistibly juicy conversations about sex, intimacy, connection, and everything in between. Whether you're feeling a little stuck in your love life, curious about what turns you on, or just craving conversations that actually matter, you're in the right place. So now, please welcome the host of the Purple Passion Project, Dr. Stacy Friedman.
What do you get when you mix purple, passion, and permission to be your true self? This podcast. Hi, everyone. I am Dr. Stacy, your host of the Purple Passion Project, coming to you live and unfiltered. This is the show where we talk sex, intimacy, connection, and everything underneath the surface. Because let's be honest, small talk is boring and you're ready for the good stuff. So relax, drop your guard, get ready for some truth, laughs, maybe a few gasps, and a whole lot of passion. Today's guest I have on here is Gloria Vanderhorst, her powerhouse of psychological insight with over 50 years of experience. Her work spans from preschool classrooms all the way to couples therapy, but her current focus hits at the heart of our cultural conversation about how boys and men are emotionally stunted by society and how it impacts their ability to connect, to love, and thrive. She's also an author of the New York Times bestselling journal, Read, Reflect, Respond, the 3 R's of growth and change. And today she's going to help me unpack some truths. And one of them are like why men are often drawn to porn over true intimacy, or how our definition of masculinity is hurting everyone, and what it really means to be emotionally available. This is going to be a powerful and a passionate ride today. So I'm going to introduce Gloria to our show. And there
Hello.
she is.
I'm glad to be here.
Very, very good. I'm so happy you're here because this is definitely a subject that I think a lot of people need, especially if they're in relationships, or a lot of men trying to be in relationships.
Right. Absolutely. It is near impossible, right, for men to engage in relationship with women. I think it is easier for them to engage in intimate relationships with other men than it is to engage in an intimate relationship with a woman.
Is it just because they're feeling more vulnerable doing it with, let's say, a woman? Is the vulnerability?
Yeah, it's got a real deep history.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait to hear all about it.
Yeah. So first of all, men come into the world with a broader range of emotional expression than girls do. And that should be a shocker for everyone.
It is.
Right? Men, boys, come into the world with a broader range of emotional expression than girls do. However, right, boys and girls, by and large, in this culture, as infants, get the majority of their interactions with women, with mothers.
With their mom, yeah.
Right? Not with fathers. There are a few fathers nowadays that are stay-at-home dads and doing a great job. And those boys, I will put money on it, have more access to their feeling states because dad is the one that's caring for them as an infant. But because boys have a broader range of emotional expression than women do, mother gets uncomfortable when the boy goes higher or lower in terms of emotional expression. And so she withdraws, right? She distances herself, or she gets distracted, right? She goes someplace else rather than joining that boy with these endpoints. And so he gets trained very early on to shut down emotion, right? So this is an infant, right? The thought process is in extremes. It's yes, no, right, wrong, black, white. So it isn't, oh, I'll just cut off a little bit of this feeling state. I'll just,
It's all of it they cut off.
all of it.
Yeah.
Right? It is, okay, feelings are dangerous. I really shouldn't be in this territory. And the consequence then is when they start to walk and talk, we double down.
Right. So they've learned early that it's not okay, it's not masculine, and you're a boy, you shouldn't be doing this or shouldn't be doing that. So it almost sounds like society and the cultural background of what a so-called man should be, it's ingrained really, really early.
It's ingrained infancy and toddlerhood, right?
What,
It's like you're done for.
right.
Like you're cooked.
Right. So what actually got you into the interest of working with the younger boys that are now eventually becoming men? What brought your interest around for that?
When I started my private practice, I had a friend who ran a preschool. And so I started seeing the boys in that preschool because preschool teachers are women, right? And so they're less comfortable with the emotional range of expression for a boy. And so they identify the boy as a problem, or they wonder if the boy has attention issues. And so I started evaluating a lot of preschool boys, and that spread to obviously other preschools in the same geographic area. So I had a ton of experience with preschool boys. And then their fathers started putting themselves on my calendar. Once they experienced that their boys could be much more successful, some of them were identified with attention deficit, but not all of them. Many of them were just doing the normal range of expression for a boy. And it is broader than for a little girl. And the fathers then really educated me on what it is like to be a male in this culture and all of the restrictions and all of the difficulties with developing relationship, not just with the opposite sex, but developing friendships too, right? These guys don't develop friendships that are intimate or that go deep in some way.
Yeah, well, I have a Facebook group that I have for men and then a group for women. And I have been trying for a few years to really, I mean, I have a lot of people in there for them to be active. And it's called, health, men's health, sexual health and empowerment. And I literally just started getting back into it because I stopped for a while. There was nobody communicating. And here I thought that these men were going to be like, oh, we have someone who's going to talk about sex, talk about health, everything. And so when we finally had a private chat with the group of the guys, I said, why is nobody responding? And the answers where I got is fear of judgment, being shy, not wanting to show any weakness. And I'm like, oh my God, if we could just let these guys know it's okay. So, what else have you found that culture is teaching all these men about emotions? What is it costing them as adults?
Well, if you just look at, let's just try a couple of things. Look at the divorce rate.
Yeah.
Right?
Is it 50% now? I don't even know.
Well, the divorce rate technically has dropped recently, but the only reason it's dropped is that people are not getting formally married.
Oh, okay.
Right? So there's not a legal document. So you can't track the divorce. You can't track the separations that take place because people are not getting formally married. But trust me, it's still 50% or more of relationships break down, and they just cannot be repaired. And the reason they break down is twofold. One is that definitely we've trained the male not to disclose and to hold everything, but we've also trained the female to desire intimacy, desire closeness, but then be uncomfortable with a man that opens up, that cries, that has more tender experiences or expressions.
Because it doesn't look masculine for them.
The female goes, oh, right?
Yeah.
Something weird about that guy, right? We make fun of them.
Yeah.
And tease them instead of going, that's exactly the emotional experience I need. I need someone who can be tender, who can be soft, right?
It's so true. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I noticed that in my practice a lot when people would come in and, they want someone who is masculine, but then, we are taught to want the intimacy and not just want someone who wants sex. But when we actually get what we want, we're like, oh, this is this man showing a feminine side. They're crying. They're a baby. I feel like they're a wuss or this or that.
Right.
And I'm not looking at them sexually in the same way either.
Right.
Because they're opening up in a way that is almost too feminine.
Right.
And so they fear to open up and show that feminine side. And if that's kind of what you need and what you want, you need to be open to the fact that this is what you're asking for.
Right. It's interesting. Your language is very interesting. All right. Because we do tend to call the softer feelings
feminine.
Call them feminine. Right? They're not feminine. They're human emotions. And we could change our language, and that could be very helpful. There is a shift taking
That's a great
place
tip.
Among teenagers, because funny enough, really, I think it's because of cell phones, right? So cell phones, I know you've seen it, teenagers sitting next to each other and texting, and they're talking to each other.
We do that on the couch, my husband and I. Did you see what I just sent you? I'm like, why don't you just lean over and show me why you texting me?
When you do that, you take a lot of communication out of the system, right? We know that I think 90% of communication is nonverbal. It's the facial expression, it's the body posture, it's your hands, right? I talk with my hands all the time.
What do you mean?
Yeah, really. And so it is true that male and female expression is moving closer together in the teenage group. And it's because they're normalizing the texting process,
right,
and not facing as much of the emotion that you get with body expression. So I'm not sure that's a healthy thing, right? They're both withdrawing from emotional expression, but it does even out the temperature between the two of them and the relationship between the two of them.
Well, I noticed that also with not just being next to each other doing it, but just even my kids. I have my son is turning 22 this week. My daughter's 24. And when they were younger, especially like my daughter, she would be texting and all her friends and saying, well, how come she read it and didn't pick up or didn't answer? Or, do you want to get together with your friend? Why don't you give her a call? Hey, how you doing? And right away starting to text. I'm like, pick up a phone and talk so you learn how to communicate. And there's so much anxiety. There's so much fear of not saying the right thing, not being able to even walk in to go to, get an application for a job because you lose that communication skill and you lose that empathy and compassion and hearing the intonation in people's voices.
Right.
It's so important.
It's made a huge difference in communication. It really has.
Yeah. And I do know also from the people that I've spoken to as well is that many times they can't, talking about men and porn use, if we can talk a little bit about that. I know that when I've spoken with them and they've said that they have a hard time disconnecting from the porn to be able to be present with their partner because they're so used to just watching this image and not paying attention to how their body's feeling, not connecting with how they feel emotionally with their partner. So when they have to turn it off, they have erectile issues, all these other issues. So why do you think that happens with the porn use? And how does it affect their emotional and physical connection to a partner.
Yeah, it happens because we have not given them access to the full range of emotions, all right? If I cannot express a need, right? The needs on this negative end of the continuum, right? Kind of the other emotions that I'm supposed to hide. And
Right.
if I can't express it verbally, then I am going to seek it visually. So porn is easy for the male, and
Right.
they can get themselves sexually satisfied, they get emotional satisfaction without risk. Interacting with a female, interacting with another human being, whether it's male or female, is risky.
Right.
Right?
It's fear of
I'm
judgment, all
risking
that fear.
being judged. I'm risking being rejected. I'm risking being made fun of. And in the male population, right, making fun of a guy is the number one priority. All right. These guys, kids are looking for it. Teenagers are doing it. Adults, even, they like to tease and make fun of the other guy. It's a way of helping themselves feel better. So
Right.
I do the one up just by joking.
And that's bullying in general.
Right.
You know, people that are bullying are the ones that are usually not confident themselves.
Right.
You know, and especially when you have men that are a little bit more, let's say on the LGBT, you know,
Right.
a situation where they're showing a little bit more of those human qualities, but more of those, you know, feminine qualities.
Right.
It's hard for them to be growing up like that as well because of being made fun of and everything.
Yeah, but if you think about porn use, it's easy because I get to interact with the computer. I don't have to take a risk of
Private,
getting any feedback
right?
whatsoever. Right? It is definitely a private experience, and I get physical satisfaction and emotional satisfaction. So
Right.
why wouldn't I want to do that?
Right.
Right?
And then if they pay for it, they are potentially either watching a cam or communicating with someone where they are getting that feedback, where the person is getting paid to say, oh, you're hot, you're sexy,
Right.
what a nice penis, all these things, you know? So it's understandable why men turn to porn. So, and last when I was talking to you off camera, you had also mentioned about that's one of the reasons why there's so many men in prison, which I thought was really interesting. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, because we don't allow men to express the full range of emotion, all right? They cannot express need. And we all have needs. And if I cannot express a need, I'm going to take some kind of an action, right? It's going to come out in terms of physical expression. So,
All that testosterone.
I'm gonna push somebody. I'm gonna elbow somebody. I'm gonna slap somebody. I'm gonna throw something against the wall. This energy has to come out, right? We're all naturally emotional, so it has to come out. And if there's no way for me to name it, right? I have a list of feelings. It's, let's see, 4 columns and 4 pages. All right. Now that's a lot of feeling words.
Oh, yeah.
Right. But if you look at the average
Not just sad
male and ask the average male, how are you feeling? It's kind of, good, bad, nervous.
Happy, sad. Right.
Their vocabulary for feeling states is probably no more than a dozen words. All right. So when I'm a guy, right, I can't identify my emotions. I cannot express my emotions. What I am left with is physical energy.
Right. And frustration and all that needs a place to come out.
So I'm going to use my physical energy. And when I use my physical energy, I'm going to get in trouble, right? I'm going to hit somebody. I'm going to slap somebody. I'm going to push somebody. I'm going to intimidate somebody. I'm going to get in trouble, right? I'm going to get arrested eventually if I use that expression to a certain degree. And it doesn't even have to be an extreme, right? It's just to a certain degree. I'm going to get arrested and I'm going to end up in jail. I don't belong there, right? If I could have learned very early on how to express my emotional need and the world were accepting
Accepting.
of
I was
it,
just going to say, yeah.
I'm not going to end up in jail. And so we have work to do, right? To educate mothers and to give freedom to preschool boys and to elementary school boys to be able to express feelings. It's all right to cry. Sometimes, well, I have, if you remember, there's a football player decades ago, Rosie Greer, big, huge guy, right? And for a television program, he sang this song, It's All Right to Cry. You can find it on YouTube, all right?
Okay.
It is a horrible looking video because it is so old and ancient, but you see this giant monster of a guy singing, It's All Right to Cry, right? And it's both humorous and touching and truthful, right? It is all right to cry. And we need to open up that opportunity for our boys and our men so that as the future advances, AI is going to give us a lot more free time, right?
Right.
And
Yep.
with that free time, I'm going to be interacting with other people. And if that interaction doesn't allow emotional expression, then chaos will happen, right? People will be getting into fights rather than to getting into really good conversations.
Right. We need that now, especially with the world so divided by so much. We need people to be able to communicate better, to be able to share better their thoughts. So many people are so quick to just jump with reaction and anger and frustration
Right.
rather than having that ability to just be kind and listen and say, tell me what you're thinking, what you're
Yeah,
feeling.
be interested. Yeah, get
Be interested.
curious, right? Just tell me more so that you can explore and you can
Right.
travel around in each other's psyche, really, because your history leads you to have certain beliefs or to reject other beliefs. So if I can understand more of your history, I can make a connection with you.
So for emotional numbing, with men, how can they start shifting away from that in a relationship? And what does emotional numbing look like in a relationship?
So it's pretty easy to identify this because I think it happens in all male-female relationships, all right? That the man is trained to hold back and to not have a need that's an emotional need. They can have all kinds of physical needs, but they can't have emotional needs. And one of the things that would be key for every guy is for the girl in that relationship to invite expression of
Let them feel safe.
creating safety,
Right.
right? And being curious and being able to hang in there and not let the guy kind of fob it off, but be genuinely interested in, I can see stress in your life.
Right. Tell me what's going on. And it's okay
Yep.
if you're not doing okay. I'm here for you.
Right.
Yeah. Because so many times I hear that people say, I always ask you what's wrong. It's like, don't just ask what's wrong. Why are you acting like this? That's not inviting.
No, it's
That's
not.
not safe.
No,
It's like,
no,
I'm
it's
here for you. Share with
Mhm.
what you're feeling. Are you sad? Are you hurt? Are you angry? Are you, what are you feeling? I think anger is not a
And
feeling.
honestly, I've given out this feeling sheet to lots of different clients.
Mm-hmm.
You can find them online too, I'm sure.
Right.
But the truth of the matter is your brain holds on to that knowledge. Your brain knows what you're feeling. Your mouth cannot produce it, but your brain can recognize it. So if you're just reading through a list of names of different feeling states,
I pop out.
they pop out. They just pop out like crazy, right? And then the guy is going, oh, yeah. It's like, oh, yes, that's exactly what I'm feeling. But you can't find it unless you get stimulated with lots of different feeling words. Then you can find it easily.
Well, that explains why just literally, I think it was yesterday when I went to that group that I have on Facebook and I specifically said, I'm trying to figure out why no one's answering. And they said, I don't know, not sure why. And then when I went back and I said to them, I said, is it because of fear? Is it because of insecurity? Is it, judgment? Is it shyness? And then all of a sudden, 3 or 4 of the men goes, judgment, shyness.
Right.
They're finally able to acknowledge that feeling because it was shown to them.
Right. So they can recognize it really immediately. All right. So your brain has all this information. It's never going to let go of this information. But honestly, your mouth cannot produce it because socially we've put a roadblock in there that says you're not to have these feeling experiences.
Right. Very interesting. And so when you're dealing with emotion and connection and feelings, especially in the bedroom, what role does it play for them to be there emotionally with sexual performance and being satisfied in bed? Because we're so focused on the destination and the performance aspect. How do you see it affect men in just enjoying the journey of it all?
It's very important in a sexual relationship that you focus on foreplay. And foreplay isn't just touch, it's also language.
And here and right.
Opening up your heart. And honestly, I have people keep this feeling sheet in the bedroom as well, so that when you're being intimate, it's all right to also kind of search through the list and see the language that pops out for you and what you're really experiencing when you're touching each other or when you're caressing each other or when you're satisfying each other. It's important to increase our language,
right,
so that we can be more genuine in relationship to our spouse. And the feeling sheet just really facilitates that.
That's awesome. I know that many women that I work with that tell me and their partner that they struggle with the emotional connection to be able to be physical. I tell them many times we have at least 8 different types of intimacy. And not only are we physical and affectionate, but we're also, emotional. And so many times when I explain to them what it means to be emotional, that's one of the things that many times they have to work on the most because they're feeling disconnected from their partner, from their male partner.
Well, we've made sex a performance act for males, right? Not something that is intimate, tender, loving, connecting. We've made it a performance act for them, all right? So it's almost like we've turned them into circus characters.
So men, if you're listening, emotion is going to get you more of what you want.
That's right. Absolutely.
And on that note, we're just going to take a quick commercial break.
All right.
Make sure you men listen to that, and we'll be back for more. Great conversation. Thank you.
If you enjoy these podcasts with Dr. Stacy, imagine the results you can get from a personal coaching session. As a clinical sexologist and certified sex coach with over 2 decades of experience, Dr. Stacy helps people just like you reignite passion, explore their desires, and break through blocks that may be holding you back, solo or with a partner. Whether you're struggling with communication, desire mismatch, performance anxiety, or simply want to feel more confident and connected in your sex life, Dr. Stacy is here to help. She offers a complimentary 15-minute consult so you can see if working together feels right. Visit drstacyfriedman.com to schedule your free call today, and let's take your passion to the next level.
And we're back. Thank you again for talking with Gloria Vanderhorst about men and emotional connections and just being able to express. And I wanted to talk a little bit about redefining what masculinity is, because people look at, like we talked about earlier, as being masculine means being so-called manly and showing the masculine features, not the feminine, human features, as you explained. So when we tell men not to cry or show weakness, how do we redefine what masculinity is without asking men to give up who they are, their identity, as far as, showing up the way that they feel comfortable, but yet still being able to show that side of themselves?
I think first we have to understand the history of this. The fact that men are not accessing the more tender feeling states was adaptive, all right, for centuries.
Right.
So think of the caveman,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You don't want this guy shaking and crying, right? You want him to grab his spear and run out of the cave and kill something to eat and bring it back, right? And then, all right, until, well, even now, we send men out onto the battlefield. Recently, we've had women join them, but the majority of the time, we have sent men to die for us. And so we don't want them to be sad. We don't want them to be scared. We don't want them to be worried. But that's changing. If you look at the world today and the way that we are going to engage in conflict, we're going to be pushing buttons, right? And sending rockets. We're not going to be sending thousands of men out into the field, or men and women out into the field. And so there's a cultural shift taking place. And then you put artificial intelligence in the mix with that cultural shift. There are going to be machines, robots doing things that people are doing now. So you have to ask yourself, well, what are the people going to be doing, right? They're going to have a lot more free time. And that's always been the case, right? As cultures advance, free time expands. And we're not stopping that at this point, right? You might think, okay, no, we've got plenty of free time now and everybody's comfortable with the amount of free time that we have. It's going to increase. All right, it's going to increase a lot in the age of artificial intelligence, which means there's more interactive time for human beings. We will have to interact with each other more often. That means either we're heading into a time of real chaos and struggle, or into a time of real opportunity, right? We can take advantage of this and educate our boys and men and our women in such a way that the amount of free time that we have actually becomes incredibly satisfying, right? It becomes an increase in intimacy, an increase in curiosity, an increase in creativity. We've got a huge opportunity in front of us to educate men about the fact that they have feelings that run the gamut, both high and low, and that we could welcome that into the environment, and we could be much more creative. We could generate things and explore things in ways that we haven't in the past.
And it's going to affect not only our love relationships, but family, friends, business, everything.
Right.
It's going to allow some of that light to shine in people's brains and minds to be able, like you said, to do more of what we want to do and put more into it when you have more emotion.
Yeah, you're going to have more time for intimacy. right? So we better learn how to enjoy it.
Did you hear that, men? More
expand
time
on it.
intimacy.
Right.
Come on, men. Show
Come
us God.
and join in.
So speaking of the men again, how can we get them to embrace this? How can we get them to want to be more emotional, more connecting, more tender, more warmth, and still feel strong? I had one of the ladies had said to her husband right in front of me, and I had to yell at her. She says, "I'm so tired of this. You're not even like kissing me right. Just be a man." And I said, "Whoa, no.
Right.
We don't say that. What does that even mean? Just be a man." That doesn't mean that you're putting them in societal standards.
Right.
No. What you need to do is be supportive as a partner and teach your partner how you want to be kissed.
Right.
And when she finally did that, she was so hesitant and was like, "This is ridiculous. Why do I have to do this? He should know he's a man." So when she finally did it, she came back the next time with this huge grin. And I said, "What's going on?" And she's like, "Well, reluctantly, I did what you told me to do." And she goes, "I was weak in my knees when he kissed me." I said, "Okay. And don't ever use that expression again." So back to my question.
Right.
How do we get them to embrace this new man thing?
Well, I think my idea, the easiest way, I think, is to engage men in raising their boys. So to that end, I'm writing a book for fathers to facilitate their ability to raise their boys so that the boy maintains access to the full range of emotional expression. And you're going to do that by, first of all, examining how did your father relate to you, right?
And then do the opposite.
Yeah. There's a ton of grief out there in terms of men understanding, reflecting, looking at the way that their fathers related to them and the longings that they were aware of, right? Yeah. So these boys, these men, these teenagers were aware of the fact that, dad doesn't talk to me, right? He comes home, he eats dinner, he sits in his chair, he reads his paper, but
falls asleep on the couch.
Yeah, he doesn't talk to me. Right? He doesn't engage me. And the only time he engaged me is when I'm in trouble. All right? If I've done something wrong, then he'll engage me. Yeah. If I've done something right, not necessarily. One of the men that I was talking to a couple of weeks ago shared this, that his father never attended any of his events. Right? He would participate in sports, in music, and his father never attended any of those events. All right. That's a real heartache.
Oh, yeah.
Right. But father didn't realize that had any importance. Right.
He figures the man doesn't care because he has no emotion, doesn't need to share it, and doesn't matter if I'm there or not.
Right. Doesn't matter. Yeah. He won't care. Right. It's really not significant. So I don't need to take off work or put it on my calendar or organize myself to be a participant or in any of this at all. And that's tragic.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That's tragic. So we want to encourage men to take a different approach to their sons. Right? And as they take a different approach to their sons, they'll educate themselves as well. Right?
And then that will bring down to their sons and their relationships. And then we can have a better society where men are able to express and able to understand even how to express.
Right.
So that's great.
Yeah.
So let's just take one more quick commercial break and then we'll come back and I want to hear a little bit more.
Okay.
In just a minute.
Great.
Looking to spice things up in the bedroom? Dr. Stacy's got you covered. From luxurious lotions to silky lubes and tantalizing toys, our collection has everything you need to turn up the heat and reignite that spark. Whether you're flying solo or with a partner, our products are designed to enhance intimacy and pleasure. Use the coupon code PURPLE and get 20% off your entire order. Visit drstacyfriedman.com, click the shop link, and explore our full range of goodies that are sure to bring out the fun in the bedroom. Let's make every moment more exciting. Dr. Stacy's Tantric Toys, where pleasure meets purpose.
Hi, Gloria. We're back.
Oh, that's nice.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about the emotional support that you offer to people. And you had mentioned that you do internal family systems and emotion-focused therapy. So how do you find that these things that you work on help men explore a lot of their emotions that they've been buried with for so many years?
Yeah, the key to both of these approaches is that they both look at human beings as people, as naturally emotional, and that health, emotional health, can be found in any person.
So basically, it's something you're born with, and society is the one that screws it all up. So you kind of help people get back to the beginning of where they started.
Right. And as I said earlier, all these things are available in your brain. Your brain holds on to everything. You can tap into it easily with support, with help, and it frees you up to experience yourself as an emotional being, right? We do train boys to be much less emotional. In fact, they think of emotion as dangerous, something I'm not supposed to tap into. But it's so valuable to awaken the emotional part of yourself, whether you're male or female, because we do the same thing to females as well. But to awaken that emotional part of yourself and be able to explore the full range of feeling states is really freeing. And it's very exciting to be able to see someone like come to life, right?
I'm sure it changes their everyday, the way they go about on a daily basis. I mean, just feeling like, when you're hiding things, it's almost like when you're meant to have mental issues, and you're hiding things, you're not expressing things, that is toxic to your body.
It is.
It causes stomach issues, heart issues, headaches, necks, body aches, everything. And so until you're able to just release that, like you said, the word freeing, it just sounds like, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about my body releasing all of this emotion.
Right.
And just to be able to go out into the world, and it's like you want to just be happy. You want to be, it's like you're just happy.
Right. And you want to interact with other people.
Right.
And you want to explore.
Share.
We're born explorers, really. If you think about it, little kids are running around exploring everything and getting into everything. That's why we put safety locks on things, because they want to explore. You don't lose that, right? As a grown-up, you also want to explore, and you can explore yourself in such an incredible way that you can change the way that you interact with the other people in your life. And that is a blessing, right? That is just such a gift. Absolutely. To be able to connect and move closer to the people in your life, that it's well worth investing in. It takes work, it takes energy, right? You have to be serious about doing the work, but if you're committed to doing the work's easy, really.
So doing the work, what would you say to a man that maybe wants to feel more, wants to be more emotional, but doesn't know how? Do you have like maybe a first step that you can offer to somebody to get started on just that process?
Yeah. The first thing I would say is go find a book, right? And the reason I would say that is because it's private. Right. Okay. So your first entry into exploring, what would it feel like to open up feelings would be go find a book. But as soon as you find that book and you crack it open, go find a therapist. Take the risk
Yeah.
of presenting yourself and just saying, all right, I think I want to explore feelings. I'm not sure I want to do that, but I'm willing to run an experiment
Try.
and just try it out. And you will be delighted, all right? Because when you uncover all of these parts of yourself that you've kept closed and private, and you've kind of squished them up so that nobody else can access them, it's freeing.
Right. And you don't have to be in a bad mental state
No.
to go through this. You just want to have to make some changes.
Yep. You just have to be willing to take a look at the truth about being a male in this culture is that we have robbed you. All right. We have intentionally robbed you of access to your feeling states. And it is a joy to open those up again and take ownership of your feeling states.
Right. And then since you had said about doing it private, which is a great recommendation, I was thinking in my head, if you're going to get a book and you're doing something private and possibly going to a therapist, is maybe even journaling privately where you're putting down some feelings. You said that you have a book and we were talking about the book earlier when I introduced you. It's called Read, Reflect, and Respond.
Yes.
So let us know a little bit about that and how that could emotionally support men.
It could definitely emotionally support men. Read, Reflect, Respond. The 3 R's of Growth and Change is a journal book, but it is a new type of journal book. Most journal books have an essay, and then they have some questions on the facing page with lines that you can write responses. This has a blank page on the facing page because
That's scary.
it is scary. We house information not only in terms of language, but in terms of emotion and pictures. So you can draw, you can scribble, you could tear the page if you want, but you'll run the essay on the other side and have to tape it back together to do the next essay. But the intent is to tap into that deeper part of your brain where you have housed things in terms of picture and action. So even the intensity that you use to scribble on the page is good information for you. And these essays will definitely trigger emotional responses. They're designed to do that.
Well, I love the idea of the drawing too, because for someone that may not be able to express themselves or is just getting started or has something that they're feeling, they just don't know how to say it. Mm-hmm. By drawing a picture, it could just be, to be able to say, okay, well, I got something off my chest. I know when I had done some EMDR trauma therapy and I had to draw a picture, it was a stick figure. It's just a stick figure. So there's no, like you said, judgment. No one's seeing it. Judgment. You're just drawing what you're feeling or thinking, and it doesn't have to be perfect. It could be a stick figure.
Yep.
It could be a dark line that you scribble. It could be anything.
It'll be helpful, right? It'll be helpful because it will tap into that part of your brain where you have housed that reaction.
That's great.
And it will make you curious about, well, why did I put that on the page? Right? Why this stick figure? What does that mean? Where's that come from? Right? And how old am I when I put that stick figure
on? You can ask those questions. Right? That's great.
And asking all those questions is very helpful.
Yeah. So for men that are in relationships with women or other men, what can their partners do to maybe help support their emotional growth, to help kind of bring them a little bit more emotional? I would say more so with women, since women are usually more emotional, but what kind of help can they offer?
Yeah, women can change the way that they view men, all right? Because the way that most women view men is that they should be strong, right? Kind of go into any office and tap the guy, right? And he will tell you if something breaks in the office, the women come to him, right? If the coffee pot doesn't work,
They're the man.
the women come to him, right? Because he's a man, and so he should be able to fix everything.
Right,
So
right.
first of all, really look at your own attitude and approach towards men, towards your husband, right? This woman that you just described, right? Who was shy, unable to express clearly, here's what would please me if you kiss me in this way, discovered that if she does open herself up, the guy is delighted. Right?
Absolutely. I'm like, all guys want to do is please.
Right.
They're not very difficult
Guys,
humans.
absolutely delighted, right? This has been a mystery for years.
Yeah.
And now it can be satisfying.
Right,
So
right.
the transparency, the honesty, the ability to hold yourself accountable, right? That you have had this expectation that, yes, you long for him to be more emotional, but you've got this narrow definition
Of what is right.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
is emotional.
Right?
Yeah.
Still to stay in the box. So
Yeah. So I guess that's a cultural message that people are seeing about men and emotions is just, this is what a man means and this is what a woman means. Is there any other cultural message that you find, if you can maybe change someone's mind about?
well, not necessarily a cultural message, but I do want to encourage men to do what you're doing for men, which is find a group, right? Find a gang, find a group of other men who are also interested in growing and who are also interested in exploring what does it mean to be a man. And there are lots of groups out there that you can hunt up and take the risk of joining other men who are taking the risk of exploring what does it mean to be a male in this culture, in this time, and
Right.
how can I tap into my natural emotional states without feeling shame?
Right. And if you know that these groups are there, then the people that are in the groups are probably feeling exactly how you are.
Right.
So if you join the group, you don't have to have that fear of judgment because they're all in the same
They're
place.
all in the same place.
They're all in the same place. That's great. So obviously there's a lot of men that can use that support. So I'm going to pop up your information on the screen here. And I want people to write that down or take a picture. Give us a little information on how we can find you and how you work with people. So that way, if someone wants to reach out, it's also going to be in the show notes. So if anyone misses it, they'll be able to see it as well.
All of my work is online, so you can access me from anywhere. The website has opportunity to look at videos. It has essays on it. It has information about the different approaches to therapy, and it also has a button that you can book an appointment. And so press the button and book time with me. I'd be happy to work with any of you.
Do you work all over the US or do you just work in a certain state?
I'm licensed in Maryland and Washington, D.C., and I do coaching experiences with people in other states.
Awesome. So that's great to know. So thank you so much for bringing your decades of experience and such a deep wisdom to today's conversation. You can definitely see that your work shines through all the aspects of all of us. Our emotional restrictions in men doesn't just hurt them, it hurts the relationships they're trying to build.
Mm-hmm.
Not just intimate relationships, but like we expressed, business, family, everything like that. And
it hurts the society.
Absolutely. And then most importantly, you remind us that healing is possible when we dare to allow ourselves to feel. So I really appreciate you for showing up here and letting us all know how. I'm sure it's going to be a very, very valuable information.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So thank you all so much. This is it for the episode of Purple Passion Project, where we keep it real with just a little bit of spice. If today stirred something in you, let it. And if you love what you heard, subscribe to see more. If you're ready to go deeper, follow me all over social media at Dr. Stacy Friedman for resources and behind the scenes magic. Until next time, stay curious, stay turned on, and never apologize for wanting more. See you next time.
This has been the Purple Passion Project with host Dr. Stacy Friedman. Tune in each week as Dr. Stacy breaks down walls, busting myths, and gives you permission to want more with no shame, no filters, and definitely no small talk. Check in every Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern, on your favorite streaming platforms. We look forward to seeing you next time. Be sure to visit drstacyfriedman.com to learn more.